Okay, good evening, everybody. It is currently about 6:30 p.m. Mountain Time on December 3rd. This is week 4 of Mod 12 of 2018. This is the first live session of week 4 of DES109, Graphic Design 1. Excuse me. Hopefully you have been doing okay this mod, have felt comfortable to contact myself or your FPA or the class coach if you have had any questions. And we are just wrapping up this week on this particular class, so why don't we get started? Okay. Excuse me, I actually just wanted to mention real quick, just in case my internet has kind of gone off and on this afternoon. I'm not really sure why, but I think I may have gotten it fixed. So if for some reason the video ends, there should be another video, because I will make sure to either re-record or post the remainder of the session. So, and I will obviously post some kind of announcement indicating that. So for the agenda today, we're going to start out with just a quick review and a couple of reminders. We'll do an overview of week 4 along with some details, a little bit of critique and feedback for, excuse me, for assignment 3, and do a little bit of catching up. For those of you that are catching up, we have some deadlines coming up, obviously. The regular assignment in assessment for week 4, everything is going to be due at the very latest. Everything is going to be due Saturday at 11:59 p.m. Mountain Time. We cannot accept the work after that deadline. And so we just want to make sure that we kind of get that squared away. The assignment 3, I will accept those up until the middle of Thursday, because you need to make sure that you get your feedback from your assignment number 3 in order to do the assessment for week 4. So if you turn it in any later than Thursday, I won't have enough time to grade it, and you won't have enough time to get the feedback back to you, and therefore most likely will not have enough time to do that last assessment. So we just need to make sure that you get those assessments, the assignment into me by Thursday, so I can get that feedback to you. I already went over that. No work accepted after Saturday. And please try to submit what you can. If you currently have some missing work, try to go back and see what it is you have missing. Let me know if you're having any issues. I did open up weeks 1 and 2 assessments. I think I even opened up a couple of other items as well. Yeah, just trying to remember off the top of my head, and I can't, because I've had a lot going on with this particular class, kind of going back and forth. So, but a little bit of work is better than no work. So I want to make sure that you all can get credit for what you are getting done. Excuse me. So where are we right now? We are not in week 1, because that's where we talked about design history and principles. In week 2, we were working with those design principles and the elements together, and we were working with the knowledge that we had gained from week 1. We were also starting to learn a little bit about the self-critiquing process. Week 3, which was last week, we were talking a little bit about finding creativity, not only from past trends, but also from current artists, current designers. Excuse me. Working with, collaborating with people. We were doing a little bit working with text and images with the social media assessment, and actually as well as the assignment. We were doing a little bit with the mood boards and designing the posters. excuse me, so we did a little bit of that. Week 4, we are actually talking about developing your online presence. And we are, oh, excuse me, I have something funky going on over here, and I'm actually not sure what that is. Give me just one second. There we go. Okay, sorry about that. I had something funny kind of showing up there. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay, so we have, like I said, we're going to be developing your design presence, your online presence. I'll be doing a demo tomorrow of your Behance, creating your online portfolio on Behance. I'm going to kind of show you guys how to go about doing that. Show you some tricks, kind of go over the importance of the online portfolio. And then the second part of your poster project is going to be the assessment. You're going to be taking the feedback from this week's assignment, applying that and making those revisions, and then you'll actually be posting that particular assignment, or excuse me, that particular assessment, once it's complete, to your portfolio. So that will be actually your first submission, your first project on your online portfolio. So I know that I have emphasized throughout the entire, oh, actually it looks like my sharing, oh my goodness, I am so sorry. There we go. You know, I'm going to go back just for one quick second here, because for some reason that didn't share. Okay, so we, like I said, we had the week 4, developing the online presence, online portfolio, learning from the past. There we go. It was just some bullets, so you didn't really miss anything, but I don't know why my sharing didn't go back. Like I said, I've emphasized throughout the entire mod the importance of watching those pre-recorded lectures. Every single week, they are the bread and butter of your understanding of the design principles. This week, I believe, was talking about the design process, that's right, and the importance of going through all those steps. And not only can you use those steps actually in the design process, but you can use them in various other areas, aspects of your life. You can actually apply them as problem solvers, breaking down your problem, and instead looking at it as just something that is a slight obstacle that you can overcome. Excuse me. So between this week's lecture and the previous 3 lectures, you might even actually want to go back and save those links to watch them at some other point if you found that maybe there were some aspects that you didn't quite grasp the first time around, or maybe you weren't able to watch it fully or watch it at all during this particular mod. It might be helpful to actually go back and watch them again, or watch them for the first time. And and if you actually did watch them completely all the way through, you found them helpful, then it would be a great resource for the future, especially since you're still within the program. Something, you might kind of get to a point where you're saying, oh, I know that I watched something on that. I know that I learned something about it. I think it was in 109. Let me go back and try to see if I can find the answer to that. So all of these different things kind of will come together for you. And compiling your resources as you go along is always helpful, whether it's these recorded lectures or newspaper articles. Yeah, who reads that these days? LinkedIn articles, how about that? So just a little suggestion there. Week 3 grades last week. I did already mention this. We are going to have oops, what is that? Oh my goodness. Sorry about that. These things are just popping right up. It must have been delayed there. So we will have late submissions that will be accepted up until Thursday, and the reason behind that, like I had mentioned, was the fact that you actually need the assignment from week 3 to be graded in order to do the assessment for week 4, because you need to be able to apply the feedback to your project. Excuse me, and then be able to have enough time to complete it, to submit it on time. Assessment number 3 this past week was the social media one. I will accept that up until the end of the mod, so up until this coming Saturday, obviously with a late deduction because it was due this past Saturday, but I will still accept that. Okay, so just like I said, a quick review of week 3. We had our discussion where we were talking about finding creativity when we're stuck, finding inspiration in different areas of our life, in the past, in past work, in our past work, in current work, contemporary areas, nature, talking with other people. Hopefully within that discussion you folks were able to find some resources that you hadn't thought of. I do know that there were some students, I think it was it might have been Barbara Oyola, excuse me, that had a couple of really good suggestions. And I know that I did post a couple of other links on there in my discussion posts for various resources. You can always go back on those and take a look and see if any of those are helpful for you. The assignment, like I said, we had the mood board and the designer inspired poster draft. There were several that were, the drafts were almost finished or pretty much finished. I did provide feedback, I believe, for everybody, whether it was within the rubric or the PDF annotations or both. If there, for whatever reason, wasn't as much feedback as you would like, shoot me a message or give me a call and let me know, and I'm definitely more than happy to take a second look at it and see if I can help you out a little bit more. And then, as I already said, because I am getting ahead of myself on these slides, the assessment was the social media ads, working in Photoshop. So we were kind of working with the skills that we had worked with in the previous, or that we had learned in the previous couple of weeks. And now for week 4, our overview. Our learning objectives for this week: utilizing graphic design tool sets to edit and compose graphics for a professional portfolio presentation. Essentially, learning or taking the software skills that you have currently learned and finding new software skills for different problems that you are presented with in attempting to create a particular effect. I actually Googled a couple of different things myself today just for a completely different project, had nothing to do with any Independence University work. So it is very, very common to be trying to look things up and try to figure out the best way to do things. There's always another way to do something. There's always a better way to do something, I think. So, and then right at the bottom, interpret and apply constructive feedback to revise a professional print design piece. This is something that you're going to be doing all the time as a graphic designer. You are going to be taking that feedback, making revisions to your piece. I very often do have instances where my design is accepted on the first try, but probably just as often my designs they require some revisions because the individual's vision was not exactly where I went with it. So you don't take it personally, you just take it and realize that this is going to help you be a better designer. It's going to help you understand your audience and the direction that various clients might want you to take. It also helps you kind of understand other people's method of thinking. I know of various artists that have certain clients that they can't veer out into their own creative license. They have to stay exactly on the path that the client requests. Then I know that I myself have some clients that give me a very narrow, or actually not even a very narrow, they give me a very, very small direction and tell me to run with it, and that's it. So you'll kind of get a feel, most likely, for your clientele, for your supervisor, for your field, your industry, to determine what they are going to be looking for. And then right in the middle there, because for some reason I'm jumping around tonight, we're going to be discussing the importance of maintaining a professional graphic design presence, and that is going to be within the discussion. And then also while we're going over the portfolio tomorrow. Oh, but wait, we're going to start off much earlier today than normal, and we're going to go over my secret question of the day. For those of you that are under probably 30, 35, might not have any idea what this is, but I thought this would be kind of a fun one because this dates me, but that's all right. This is called a popple. This was a toy of the 80s. I had that exact one. Those are not my pictures, but I had that exact one, and it was a stuffed animal that had a little pouch in the back like a reverse kangaroo, and you would put it up into a ball. I would love it if any of you watching this shoot me a message, let me know you see this, and I would love it even more if any of you that know or that have one of these or knew what this was before I gave the answer, because I'd love to get an idea of the age range of the students that I'm teaching here. So, and like I said, that totally dates me. But anyways, okay, so going over week 4, our overview, we're going to start out, I'm going to bring this over, and we're going to go over our media real quick. Week 4, excuse me. Okay. So last week, a lot of the information was about the Facebook ads, excuse me, and I believe going over Photoshop tips. This week, like I said, we're going to be talking about the graphic design presence and the steps taken. We'll talk a little bit about the digital presence and your online portfolio and building your network, which is incredibly important as a designer. Most designers that I know, if not all of them, in addition to, finding employment, also always do a little work on the side. They're always freelancing, and sometimes that ends up being the best thing for them because they're able to build their network of individuals or professionals. And that's actually how I started working here at IU. I was previously networked with another instructor, and we had been working together for a lot of years. So it very often you help each other out, and even if it's not another graphic designer, if it happens to be a client, that client can refer you to someone else who gives you a little bit more work, who gives you refers you to someone else who gives you a little bit more work. So the online presence is incredibly important. So the lynda.com playlist this week is a lot more focused towards employment or finding jobs, creating that presence. We have up here, the design community, your portfolio, social media, all that kind of stuff up here. Down here, we have the actual Behance portfolio site. So you are more than welcome to get started on that before the session tomorrow if you are determined. If you are excited about that, you are more than welcome to. And then if you have any questions, you can let me know. If you want to wait until tomorrow's session, that is also fine as well. Okay, so, and then on chapter 2, we have a little bit of reading on Behance, and chapter 3, a little bit more. So like I've mentioned every single week so far, all super, super short clips and very easy to watch. Make sure that you go through all of them, because right here we have a lot of tips on making sure that you give your best presentation, making sure that you're picking the best work, how to go about arranging and including certain media, and then here we have some tips on how to make sure that you have a beautiful design portfolio. And this one, this is actually a really decent article. I read this earlier today, but you don't have to take my word for it. Just give it a read. Okay, so that we have for the media. And actually, we're going to watch a clip in a second as well. I'm getting ahead of myself again. You know what? Actually, let's do that right now instead. And then we'll go over the discussion. This is actually on the media page, but it's only a couple minutes long, so we're going to watch it really quickly. And it's really, really interesting. The reason why it's all the way at the end here is because I watched it again today. So if for some reason you can't hear it, just go on the week 4 page, or the week 4 overview page. That's where it is, and you can watch it there. This is just as a really interesting video of the importance of presenting yourself.
In case you haven't noticed, I'm only 13. My worry is that clients may come to either judge or question my skills due to my age. So this is where I call out to you. Should I tell the client, or should I just let my work do the talking?
Ted, first I have to say, I am completely blown away by the fact that you're a 13-year-old designer. Even more incredible is that you've been doing this since you were 10 years old. I didn't even know I wanted to be a graphic designer until I was 18, so you have at least an 8-year head start on somebody like me and a lot of people out there. Let's talk about your question at hand. So you've been able to do freelance work, but you've been shying away from a Skype call or an in-person meeting because they're going to discover really quickly that you're a 13-year-old person, and all the fears and doubts kind of start to pop up. Are they going to pay me less? Are they going to take me less seriously? Are they going to try to bully me or negotiate me into something that's less than?
This is why results seem like appropriate business.
Rather than hiding behind the fact that you're 13, what I would do is to embrace it. I'm a 13-year-old designer living in the UK, and I love hand lettering and logos. That's a really compelling story. There's a lot of people are going to want to see you win and support your efforts, as opposed to people want to tear you down. If a client finds out that you're 13 years old and doesn't want to work with you, well, you don't need those kind of clients. People should judge you by the work that you do, as you have mentioned, not by what you look like or how old you are. Do your best to adopt best practices in design. So when you're talking to a client, have a clear definition of the work, provide them an estimate, and be responsive. And that's the key. Being responsive is totally critical. So when they shoot you an email or they call you at a particular time, and you can define what time those are, like from say 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. you're available, that you're responsive. And that's key.
Thanks, Dave.
Another thing that you can do to dispel some of the concerns that people might have is to have client testimonials on your website. And you want them to focus on the fact that you're professional, that you're responsive, and you're able to meet deadlines and you do top level work. If you're going to do a Skype call with a potential client, it would be good if you had a little checklist for your calls. You're probably going to ask them about what their brand stands for, maybe do a little brand definition exercise with them, get to know what the business objective is versus just busting out a cool logo for that. I think that'll help to elevate you on a different platform. Focus your attention on the client, be present with them, and talk to them and engage them in a professional manner. I think you're well on your way. So if you're going to do an in-person meeting, it might be good to have your dad or your mom be present to chaperone you just to make sure everything's okay. I hope you found this video response to be helpful. If there's anything else I can do, hit me up online. I'll be sure to respond. You are a trailblazer and your future is very bright. Good luck, my friend.
Okay, so just to go over a couple of the points in that video, he had made mention, excuse me, that actually the main point of it, first of all, was that the client should not necessarily be considering your age, your gender, your anything when looking to hire you. In an ideal world, they would be mainly focused on your work, your portfolio. And as a result, you want to make sure that your portfolio and your image is as strong as possible. You want to make sure that your work stands on its own, that it speaks for itself. The presenter also actually discussed a little bit about best practices. The 13-year-old whose work, if you paid attention at the beginning of that video clip, was absolutely just unreal. His talent simply at hand lettering is just amazing. But I can absolutely understand that boy's thinking. I imagine that I was fairly insecure at 13 years old. I am 36 and I'm still insecure sometimes about discussing things in person, not necessarily over the phone so much, and definitely not via email, but there are plenty of instances where I am trying to promote myself, and that's very, very difficult sometimes. So, or maybe you're insecure about your work. Maybe it's because you're kind of new to the design field. Maybe it's because you're a little bit older and you're not exactly sure if you chose the right path. Either way, as long as you are working on improving those design principles and to just showcase your work in the best possible manner, then your work will kind of speak for itself, and then that's how you'll be actually getting jobs. Excuse me. The other gentleman there had mentioned that, he talked about best practices when you're talking with potential clients or potential employers. You want to make sure that you have a clear definition of the work. Sometimes it's best to kind of have a checklist of questions, things that you want to make sure that you ask to kind of get details on the job. And having that checklist makes sure that you don't forget anything, that you don't have to go back after the fact and ask those questions again, or ask different questions. Provide an estimate to the client, which I know is probably one of the most difficult parts about the entire business. It depends on how long you have been in the industry, where you're located, what the client's budget is. It's very difficult. Providing an estimate is always a beneficial way of actually securing work, because you're giving them an actual number. And you can always mention that you're flexible depending on the work, as long as you are. Be responsive is huge, and actually being just in general, being communicative, because you want to make sure that you're responding to their requests, but also even if you aren't getting requests, if you're noticing that there are issues that are starting, within the project, or if there are things that are kind of working that you need to make sure that you are notifying the client, because your work may be hindering the progress or the production of something else. There are lots of different venues for design work. There's, maybe your logo creation is going to be used on a website. The website can't be launched until your logo is complete. Maybe it's not digital, maybe it's print, and the production of t-shirts can't be completed until your artwork has been finalized with the customer. So there's always one thing, right, that kind of leads to another thing. Staying open and clear with the customer is always preferential to kind of, being the ostrich and sticking your head in the sand and hoping that they don't ask you any questions. Something that you also might want to try if you are a little bit nervous or insecure is having some testimonials that, that the 13-year-old, that's probably one of his better, I can't think of the word for it. That's probably one of his better tools, since he is so young, to show potential clients and employers that he has done work before, that they do value that work, and that he is a professional. And obviously you need a little bit of work before you can get the testimonials, but you get out there, you pound the sand, and that's kind of how you do it. Let me actually close down here. Okay, so, all right, we did the media. We watched that video a little bit. We'll talk about the discussion now. Very briefly. You never seem like I have enough time. Okay, so for the discussion this week, like I said, we're talking about building our brand, building our own digital presence. The discussion here talks about the following 5 reasons why maintaining a professional presence is particularly important. Number 1, standing out from the crowd. Incredibly important. You obviously want to make sure that you're standing out from the crowd in a good way and not a negative way. You want to make sure that you're standing out in a way that the client is going, or potential client or potential employer is going to remember how different, how neat, how aesthetic, how colorful, how amazing your work was. I remember I had a potential designer that was going to be doing work for me, and his resume was just outstanding. And this is 7 or 8 years at this point now, and I still remember this guy's resume. Position yourself as an expert. You want to indicate that you know what you're doing, obviously. Show professional commitment, whether it is in applying for different awards and certifications, or simply that you speak professionally, that the rest of your communication is in a professional manner. You're not emailing with horrible grammar and spelling mistakes, that you are that you're presenting yourself in a professional manner like you would in a corporate setting, whether or not you are actually in that corporate setting. And there are some exceptions to the rule, depending on your workplace, but you want to make sure that your clientele can trust you, that you have credibility. You set expectations that, both for yourself and for your clients. Your clients know that you have expectations for yourself, and that they can set expectations for what your work is going to come out to be. And build connections. I already mentioned how important networking is. Networking is incredibly important as a designer. It is a very, very competitive world. There are an unbelievable amount of jobs out there. but there are even more designers. Don't let this scare you, but it is a very competitive world. You need to make sure that you are showing individuals that you are worth being connected to. Okay, so we have all these examples right here. I kind of just went through them very quickly, but you can obviously read through that a little bit more. And for the prompt for this discussion, imagine again that we're attending a networking event with several of the designers. In the course of a conversation, one of the designers mentions they're not comfortable sharing their work with others, thus they have no professional design presence or online portfolio. They ask your thoughts on the subject. So you're going to be explaining to this designer why an online portfolio is important and why maintaining a professional design presence just in general is important. Why you're going to be explaining what the benefits are and why you feel that there are benefits. You're going to be describing the current professional design world. A lot of it is digital these days. That's kind of the direction that we're heading in. It's not so much print these days. I mean, there is still plenty of that, obviously. You're not going to have a digital box for a toy packaging, you know, but that's how it starts. It starts digitally. So why, and the last one, excuse me, why might someone be hesitant to maintain their presence and how might you help them become more comfortable? So you kind of explore the pros and the cons and explain why it is important. Try to get into the shoes of an individual that might be nervous about doing that and try to increase their comfort. Okay, and okay, so we have we have a couple of submissions already, which is great. Okay, and I'm actually going to move this back over now so we can continue. Excuse me, like I said, we have assignment number 4. It will be for tomorrow. We'll go over Behance, and assessment number 4. Actually, we'll go over that real quick as well. So we have assignment. You know, I'm sorry, I wanted to make sure. I'll do that tomorrow because I don't want to waste the time here today. But the assessment, however, yes, this is the assessment. Okay. So we're going to be, like I said, we're going to be applying the feedback that I have given you for week 3's poster, and you're going to be updating it. Whether you used Illustrator or InDesign, just make those changes. Make any other improvements that you feel might be relevant, might work with the composition. It's possible that feedback that I give you might actually inspire you to do something else. So be my guest if you feel like that's going to improve it. As you're working, return to your mood board as well, or as often as you need to. You can even do a little bit more research into that designer if you need to. Excuse me. And then you're going to be saving the file, same format as we have been doing. Please, please, please make sure that you are submitting as a PDF. I have gotten a lot, in the last 3 weeks, I've gotten a lot of submissions in InDesign format, Photoshop format. I've gotten zip folders, and I can't look at any of them. I did get one Illustrator file that I think as a fluke I was able to open in the grade book, but I do need those submitted as a PDF, so please make sure that you look at the file submission requirements carefully, because I want to make sure that I can grade your assignments in a timely manner, especially if you happen to be submitting it right on time or early. I want to make sure that I give you what you are putting into it. If you're putting in your all, I want to make sure I give my all as well. So this particular assignment, it is going to be, like I said, it's going to be your first submission to your Behance portfolio. So you want it to be as professional as possible because it's going to be right out there on the web. Then when you are done, you are going to be emailing that link, that URL, to your FPA as well as myself, and your FPA will be following along, you know, with as you go in the rest of your your education here and kind of updating. You're going to be using this portfolio for your future projects. I believe there are going to be many, if not all of your classes, that they are going to require submissions that you have done. So hang on to them. And then I believe this is actually, this little note has been in with all of the other assessment and assignment pages, but just to make sure that I actually specify it here as well. Make sure to your native files, that's the file that you happen to be working in. So if you're working in InDesign, that's your InDesign file. If you're working in Illustrator, it's your Illustrator file. Make sure you keep those in addition to the PDFs that you need to submit, because trying to go back and recreate it can be a pain in the neck. And so having multiple file types of the same artwork is very common. So, and you want to make sure that you save time when you can. So don't just delete those files because you have your PDF that you submitted. Okay, and you have your rubric down here, obviously, if you need to take a look. Lastly, the career integration quiz, which we'll actually go back here one more time. Oops, wrong one. Excuse me. Oh, that's also the wrong one. Sorry, I got too many open here. Okay, we have the career integration quiz. As you are submitting this, please make sure that you are specific to this course as you are answering them. If it's a question, or excuse me, if the answer provided is something that I could apply to pretty much any other course in the program, I'm going to have to dock points because I can't tell if it actually is genuinely applied to this particular course or if you just grabbed it from a previous course. So I need to know that these answers are genuine and they are actually related to this subject matter. So please make sure that you fill that out correctly as well. Okay, so going back, we have about 15 minutes today. It doesn't, I want to make sure we get to at least one critique. So being a designer versus working as a designer, you know, is it who you are or is it just a job? Either one is absolutely acceptable. If you chose this field because you thought it would be interesting, that you would enjoy it, and or just simply because you happen to be skilled with Illustrator, you happen to pick up Photoshop pretty easily, and as a result your InDesign skills are fairly advanced. Either one is absolutely fine. I myself am an artist. I prefer the traditional media of charcoal or paints. However, I absolutely love working with the digital media. And there are those that are very entrenched. They live their lives in a very artistic manner. And they go to work. They love their job because of the fact that their job is very entrenched in composition and color theory and using these design principles. And then there are those others that they're not, and they're also very happy to go to work, create their designs or their layouts, and come home and completely shut it off. Either way is absolutely fine. Either way, you're going to need a handful of things. You'll need your technical skills, your software. You will need to make sure that you are efficient in those in those programs. You are always learning. The technological field grows faster and wider every day. It's absolutely impossible to keep up. But if you don't at least attempt to, it is very easy to fall behind. Constantly make sure that you are looking up how to do different things, that you are talking with different things. If there's a seminar that is available or a webinar, it is important to try to make sure that you keep up on your professional development. Design skills, we've talked about a little bit about where to find inspiration and creativity, and in finding the inspiration and creativity, you will most likely inadvertently be learning a little bit more about design skills. You'll be learning what things work, what things don't work. They'll be filed away in the back of your mind, but try to make an effort also to make note, keep your phone, or if you don't, for some reason, have a camera phone, excuse me, you don't have a camera on your phone, keep a digital camera with you, take pictures, keep a sketchbook with you and sketch things out, make notes. I'm constantly emailing myself ideas, even if it's just in text. So those things will help also improve your design skills. Once I show you the Behance website, there are amazing resources that are right there on the homepage of Behance. You can just go through and scroll through and see other amazing artists and other designers. So things like that will help beef up those skills of yours. Interpersonal and communication skills. Although sometimes I seem like I'm ranting, it's because I'm only talking to myself here. That is very important as well, to be able to articulate to a customer or your supervisor why you chose to make the designs that you did, what information you need in order to make your designs better, or in order to create them at all. It's very common for a client to not give you the correct information or enough information. So, and you want to make sure that you are communicating effectively, whether it be written or orally, face-to-face, over Skype, over the phone. That is also a very important thing. And the digital world of the design industry, think about some of the pros and the cons of the industry. Like I mentioned, it is becoming a more and more digital world, and in some ways that's a great thing. I can teach from my home where I have my 3 children, and I am able to do this and share my knowledge, and I'm able to learn from my students as well. I would not be able to do that in an ordinary classroom, because I would not be able to get out to the classroom in a timely manner. The cons are I don't get to see you folks face to face. Some people like being, they like the old school print, hard copy, I can feel it in my hands kind of thing. But whether you're on the pro side or the con side, another pro of it is that there's so much to share, and it's so quickly shared, like on Behance and social media and YouTube and all of these other great resources. So it is becoming an increasingly digital world. So your digital presence, your online presence, is going to be vital in your success as a designer. Okay, and we've got 10 minutes. I definitely have enough time to do 1. I might have enough time to do 2, but probably not. So I'm just going to grab this one right here. Okay. Now we have Lester Beal. This is the mood board that the student decided to do. And we have a great combination here. We have a couple of different images of inspiration from the artist. And the name of the artist up here. We have a wonderful swatch palette here. The swatches don't necessarily need to be all square. This individual chose to do that, and that's fine. I actually love how the typefaces are arranged, though. They chose to write out the fonts. I think I actually may have done something similar last week, but I did not, however, arrange them like this. And this, I think, is really, really sharp. I think that looks awesome. And it's a very organized way to indicate the different types, the different varieties of typefaces that this artist could have used. Scrolling down to the poster, I'm actually going to zoom up just a little bit so you can see. There we go. They use a nice combination of the swatch palette and a little bit of a couple of the different types. The graphic, I'm going to scroll back up real here quick. we have the light bulb and we have the water faucet here that are kind of silhouetted, that this student chose to kind of do that as well to indicate that this is an artistic exhibit, which I thought was really smart. If you can take a look, actually I'll zoom back in here. This image is kind of pixelated. So I don't know if it was maybe clipped out or erased using Photoshop or something. It would probably be a little bit cleaner if it was traced in Illustrator. You can actually even trace it in InDesign. There are similar tools. So whatever your preference. There is a lot. I love the way that the blue and the red, it kind of breaks up the background here with the white on top of it. There's some really great contrast, and then also some really great contrast with the text here. And they reversed the colors. So we have the yellow background with the black text, and then and then it reversed here. It creates a really nice look. This student also used the angled block kind of effect that this wasn't Greenman, this was Beal. There we go. I knew it wasn't Beal. So we have a couple of really nice elements there. They have it nicely aligned within the rectangles here, and then the rectangles are repeated. So we have some great alignment, some great repetition, some great contrast. We have a little bit of an issue here with the text within the canvas and the text within the silhouette here. Only because we have this, it almost feels like this text is trying to kind of come out of the canvas, and I don't think that that's intentional. So there we go. I'm going to push it a little bit more. Here we go. So if we were to maybe decrease the size a little bit, whether it's by decreasing the horizontal scaling or maybe just decreasing the point size, that's fine. And probably aligning it within this canvas area, this fake canvas area, would look decent. The artist could even try maybe doing a shearing effect to kind of work with the angle here of the canvas. That might also work. As for lining up the names within the silhouette, I thought that was a really smart idea. When you are working with text, it can be tricky, especially when you have lists. This individual, I can see, was trying to keep it center aligned, and that absolutely makes sense. But because of the odd shape of the figure here, it kind of doesn't work because we have a lot of space over here and not a ton of space over here. So in an instance like this, it would actually, let me see, I have my annotate tools. There we go. It would almost probably make sense to kind of bring this name over, maybe this name over just a little bit, probably leave Beal's name, Paula move over a little bit, and then April a little bit, almost so that you're kind of creating like a little outline within the body there. Another suggestion would be to maybe take this entire list and move it down maybe a little bit further in the body where it's a little bit more consistent. The width of the silhouette is kind of consistent, so there won't be so many differences. Let me erase all these guys. Nope, erase. There we go. So, I mean, this individual did a great job of mimicking the artist's work without duplicating it, which is really was the assignment, to try to work with the style without actually recreating something. They did a really nice job there. Okay, and let me see, I think I have just a couple more minutes, so I'm going to go over really, really quick. Just a notation on these are the assignments that we have so far, and you can make sure that you have everything submitted. Oh, excuse me, I don't know why I have that contact me one in there. that must have just been from a previous class. So we have assignment number 1, the design period flashcards. Assignment number 1, we had the quiz. Assignment number 2, the advertising makeover. That was picking an era from the flashcards and doing the advertisement that way for Sky Studios. Assessment number 2 was the self-evaluation for that advertising makeover where you were explaining your choices. Assignment number 3 is the item that we just critiqued with the mood board and the poster draft. And assessment number 3, the social media ad that, you know, as I mentioned last week, I can give some tips here and there, but I can't really go over it because that happens to be essentially a test or a quiz. So next session is tomorrow, 6:30 p.m. Try to do a little bit more on the critique since we were only able to get to 1 today, and do a little bit more, or we'll do all of the demo on the creating the Behance portfolio. Thursday, 12:30 p.m. Mountain Time. If you specifically have a project you want me to critique and you can't be there on Thursday, feel free to let me know and I can do a critique and record and then post it for you. Otherwise, if you actually want one-on-one help, feel free to come into the Zoom classroom and I'll go over it with you. If you need help or if you need ideas for any of your other assignments, feel free to come in and talk because it's the final opportunity for advising for this particular mod, because after Saturday we are done. So I hope that I was able to give you folks enough information today for week 4, and we will do a little bit more tomorrow to really get going on your professional appearance, because that site, that portfolio site, will be able to carry you through the rest of your career. So, and you can modify, you don't have to get nervous either. Your first one, if you're not so thrilled with it, you can eventually take it down. You can obviously, excuse me, I don't want to say obviously, you are able to add and remove and rearrange and rearrange and rearrange as much as you want in your portfolio in order to make it the best presentation possible. So with that, I will leave you folks until tomorrow night, and I hope you have a good one.